National Book Award, died Tuesday night. The cause of death was Hodgkin's disease. He was 60. Mr. Moritz novels are defined by their humor and compassion, and the hope they search for amid despair. From the first, he had his ardent supporters. These included Philip Roth, one of the judges for the National Book Award in 1972, awarded to Mr. Moritz for his first novel. At the center of the remedy is a live human heart, fierce and imploring, Roth said in a press release announcing the prize. Another of Mr. Moritz fans, Leon Witzler, speaking on the telephone this morning from the offices of the New Republic in Washington, D.C., called Mr. Moritz one of the most important and undervalued writers. To call him a Jewish writer, he added, or worse, an experimental writer, is to miss entirely the point of his humanity, which resisted all categorization. Mr. Moritz was born in 1940 in Brooklyn to immigrant parents. A quiet and serious child, he filled notebooks with detailed descriptions of scenes from his own life. One of those, an entry about watching a dog being beaten by a gang of children, written at the age of 12, later inspired the most famous scene in the remedy, when the protagonist, Jacob, leaves the apartment of a woman to whom he has just made love for the first time, and, standing in the shadows of a street lamp in the freezing cold, watches a dog being brutally kicked to death by two men. At that moment, overcome with the tender brutality of physical existence, with the insoluble contradiction of being animals cursed with self-reflection and moral beings cursed with animal instincts, Jacob launches into a lament, a single, ecstatic paragraph, unbroken over 5 pages, that Time magazine called one of the most incandescent, haunting passages in contemporary literature. Aside from winning him an avalanche of praise in the National Book Award, the remedy also made Mr. Moritz a household name. In its first year of publication, it sold 200,000 copies and was a New York Times bestseller. His sophomore attempt was awaiting with eager anticipation, but when Glass Houses, a book of stories, was finally published 5 years later, it was met with mixed reviews. While some critics saw it as a boldly innovative departure, others, such as Morton Levy, who wrote a scathing attack in Commentary, called the collection a failure. Mr. Moritz, wrote Levy, whose debut novel was emboldened by his eschatological speculations, has here shifted his focus to pure scatology. Written in a fragmented and at times surreal style, the stories in Glass Houses range in subject from angels to garbage collectors. Reinventing his voice yet again, Mr. Moritz's third book, Sing, was written in a stripped-down language described in the New York Times as taut as a drum, though in his more recent 2 novels he continued to search for new meanings of expressing them. Mr. Moritz's themes were consistent. At the root of his art was a passionate humanism and an unflinching exploration of man's relationship with his God. Mr. Moritz is survived by his brother, Bernard Moritz. I sat in a daze. I thought of my son's 5-year-old face. Also the time I watched him tie his shoe from across the street. Finally, a Starbucks employee with a ring in his eyebrow came up to me. "We're closing," he said. I looked around. It was true. Everyone was gone. A girl with painted nails was dragging a broom across the floor. I got up, or I tried to get up, but my legs buckled under me. The Starbucks employee looked at me as if I were a cockroach in the brownie mix. The paper cup I held was crushed to a damp pulp in my palm. I handed it to him and started to make my way across the floor. Then I remembered the newspaper. The employee had already thrown it into the trash bin he was rolling across the floor. I fished it out, smeared as it was with uneaten Danish, while he looked on. Because I am not a beggar, I handed him the tickets for Bootiful. I don't know how I got home. Bruno must have heard me unlock the door, because a minute later he came downstairs and knocked. I didn't answer. I was sitting in the dark in the chair by the window. He kept knocking. Finally, I heard him go back upstairs. An hour or more passed, and then I heard him the stairs again. He slid a piece of paper under the door. It said, "Life is Bootiful." I pushed it back out. He pushed it back in. I pushed it back out. He pushed it in. Out, in, out, in. I stared at it. Life is Bootiful. I thought, perhaps it is. Perhaps that is the word for life. I heard Bruno breathing on the other side of the door. I found a pencil. I scrawled, "And a joke forever." I pushed it back under the door and paused while he read it. Then, satisfied, he made his way back upstairs. "It's possible," I cried. "What's the difference?" I fell asleep near dawn. I dreamed I was standing in a railway station. The train came in and my father got off. He was wearing a camel hair coat. I ran to him. He didn't recognize me. I told him who I was. He shook his head no. He said, "I only had daughters." I dreamed my teeth crumbled, that my blanket suffocated me. I dreamed of my brothers. There was blood everywhere. I like to say, I dreamed that the girl I loved and I grew old together. Or I dreamed of a yellow door and an open field. I like to say, I dreamed that I died and my book was found among my things. And in the years that followed the end of my life, I became famous. And yet, I picked up the newspaper and cut out the photograph of my Isaac. It was wrinkled, but I smoothed it out. I put it in my wallet, in the plastic part made for a photo. I opened and closed the Velcro a few times to look at his face. Then I noticed that underneath, where I cut it out, it said, "A memorial service will be." I couldn't read the rest. I had to take the photograph out and piece the two parts together. "A memorial service will be held Saturday, October 7th at 10 a.m. at Central Synagogue." It was Friday. I knew I shouldn't stay in, so I made myself go out. The air felt different in my lungs. The world no longer looked the same. You change and then you change again. You become a dog, a bird, a plant that leans always to the left. Only now that my son was gone did I realize how much I'd been living for him. When I woke up in the morning, it was because he existed. And when I ordered food, it was because he existed. And when I wrote my book, it was because he existed to read it. I took the bus uptown. I told myself I couldn't go to my own son's funeral in the wrinkled schmata I call his suit. I didn't want to embarrass him. More than that, I wanted to make him proud. I got off on Madison Avenue and walked along, looking in the windows. My handkerchief was cold and wet in my hand. I didn't know which store to go into. Finally, I just chose one that looked nice. I fingered the material on a jacket. A giant schwarfter in a shiny beige suit and cowboy boots approached me. I thought he was going to throw me out. "I'm just feeling the fabric," I said. "You want to try it on?" he asked. I was flattered. He asked me my size. I didn't know, but he seemed to understand. He looked me over, showed me into a dressing room, and hung the suit on the hook. I took my clothes off. There were 3 mirrors. I was exposed to parts of myself I hadn't seen in years. Despite my grief, I took a moment to examine them. Then I put on the suit. The pants were stiff and narrow, and the jacket practically came down to my knees. I looked like a clown. The schwarfter ripped aside the curtain with a smile. He straightened me out and buttoned me up and spun me around. We both looked into the mirror. "Fits you like a glove," he announced. "If you wanted," he said, pinching some material at the back, "we could take it in. A drop here, but you don't need it. Looks like it was made for you." I thought, what do I know from fashion? I asked him the price. He reached into the back of my pants and dug around in my tuchus. "This one's $1,000. cousin, the locksmith. He was an amateur photographer, and one day he showed me how to make a pinhole camera. This was the spring of 1947. I sat in the back of his tiny shop watching him fix the photographic paper inside the box. He told me to sit and shone a lamp on my face. Then he removed the cover over the pinhole. I sat so still I was hardly breathing. When it was finished, we went into the dark room and dropped it in the developing pan. We waited. Nothing. Where I should have been, there was only a scratchy grayness. My cousin insisted we do it again, so I did it again, and again, nothing. 3 times he tried to take a picture of me with the pinhole camera, and 3 times I failed to appear. My cousin couldn't understand it. He cursed the man who sold him the paper, thinking he'd been given a bad batch. But I knew he hadn't. I knew that the way others had lost a leg or an arm, I'd lost whatever the thing is that makes people indelible. I told my cousin to sit in the chair. He was reluctant, but finally he agreed. I took a photograph of him, and as we watched the paper in the developing pan, his face appeared. He laughed, and I laughed too. It was I who'd taken the picture, and if it was proof of his existence, it was also proof of my own. He let me keep it. Whenever I took it out of my wallet and looked at him, I knew I was really looking at me. I bought an album and fixed it to the second page. On the first page, I put the photo of my son. A few weeks later, I passed a drugstore with a photo booth. I went in. From then on, every time I had some spare money, I'd go to the booth. In the beginning, it was always the same, but I kept trying. Then one day, I accidentally moved as the shutter clicked. A shadow appeared. The next time, I saw the outline of my face, and a few weeks later, my face itself. It was the opposite of disappearing. When I opened the door of the camera shop, a bell tinkled. 10 minutes later, I stood on the sidewalk clutching 4 identical photos of myself. I looked at them. You could call me plenty of things, but handsome isn't one of them. I tucked one in my wallet next to the picture of Isaac from the newspaper. The rest I threw in the trash. Okay, I'm gonna stop there for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this, please give this video a like. That way I know you did enjoy it, and I can tell how many of you actually made it this far if you give it a like. Also, subscribe to my channel if you want to see the next video in this series and keep up with the storyline, because I'm not even halfway through this book yet, so there's going to be plenty more coming out in the future. I come out with these every 6 days too, so it's fun to follow along with and keep up with. And to make sure that you get notified, hit that notification bell and then go up. I know it's so annoying. Go up and click all notifications so that you get all notifications for my channel. But yeah, I really hope you guys are enjoying this. I absolutely love this book so much. I say that in every video now, I think. Let's just say I'm a huge believer in love, and this book really helps me remember that I guess I'm not the only one. Even though for so long I've felt like I am. It's so beautiful, I'm getting goosebumps. Okay, whatever you're doing, have a good day, good night, good evening. Bye guys.
My channel is sponsored by a website called Wildflower Sex. For the rest of this ad read, I'm going to say sax, like saxophone, instead of the word that I need to say. So, let's talk more about Wildflower Sax. They are a sexual wellness company. First, I'll tell you about what I've purchased from there so far. Now, I will say I bought this without having any experience with said item. The other thing that I purchased on their website are some period cups. They're silicone, and it's really great if you want to reduce your carbon footprint in the environment. They are used for replacements for feminine products. But these period cups I got from Wildflower are really, really high quality. They're the perfect size for me. They have all different shapes and sizes of period cups, and